The board will now come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Schweitzer. Alderman Oldenburg.
Present.
Alderman Cone. Alderman Narayan. Alderman Devote.
Present.
Alderwoman Velasquez. Alderwoman Sanier. Alderwoman Cox-Antwi. Alderman Browning. Alderwoman Clark-Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Boyd.
Present.
Alderman Aldrich. President Green.
Present.
Alderman Cone. Alderwoman Velasquez. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Tyus. We have 12 present.
A quorum being present will be led in an opening reflection by the Executive Director of Gateway 180, Kathy Connors, in observation of World Homelessness Day.
Thank you, President Green. Thank you all for the invitation. It is an honor to be here today. I want to point out that I also currently serve as our St. Louis City Continuum of Care chairperson. So this morning on World Homeless Day, I would like to reflect on some community statistics with you. 440 year-round shelter beds, 550 individuals seeking shelter in August who were turned away due to a lack of shelter, 1,637 individuals experiencing homelessness in the city of St. Louis on the night of our 2025 point-in-time count, 387 of whom were unsheltered, and 229 of whom were young children. Between 1,000 and 5,000 victims of our May tornado who will be seeking shelter this winter as cold weather arrives. 2,035 permanent supportive housing beds currently in use in our community. 23 individuals per month being rehoused via our family shelter with the assistance of intense case management. 150 tornado victims sheltered immediately after the tornado at Peter and Paul LSAP campus. A looming government cap of 30% of HUD COC funding allowed to be spent on permanent supportive housing. A potential gap or reduction of $6.4 million in HUD COC funding dedicated to permanent supportive housing in our own community. A reduction of 478 permanent supportive housing beds or units from our current 683 units. 0 HUD notice of funding opportunity announced, meaning the potential for a reduction or a loss of $16 million of HUD COC housing funds in our community. As we face the arrival of winter weather, the lingering impact of the tornado, and the potential of looming cuts to much-needed permanent supportive housing and rapid rehousing programs, it is time to think of individuals, our neighbors, in need of shelter, support services, and rehousing assistance. It is time to advocate for our HUD funding based on our community needs and data, and it is time to formalize or codify a winter plan to protect the most vulnerable in our community from the dangers of the extreme cold weather now and for years to come. It is time to come together as elected community leaders, service providers, and members of the St. Louis Continuum of Care to afford both our unhoused neighbors and our amazing city the dignity, hope, and solutions that are deserved and that we know can be effective. On World Homeless Day and every day, let's unite to problem solve, advocate, and to innovate to establish change and end homelessness in our community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kathy. Any introduction of honored guests? See Alderwoman from the 13th.
Thank you, Madam President and the board, and thank you, Kathy, for coming forth. And I think every day should be declared Homeless Day because this is a critical issue that we need to be addressing. And I wanted to have my honored guest today as Miss Ollie Stewart, who is a pioneer in our community and has been very adamant on fighting for senior rights and their pleasures that they need to keep getting from their benefits of working all their life. So, Ollie Stewart, we want to welcome you for our guest for Board of Aldermen.
Thanks. Alderman from the 9th.
Thank you. I'd like to have as my honored guest Miss McDevitt's fourth grade class from New City School. We all had some time this morning to tour the City Hall and ask some really great questions, and really happy to have them here and be able to observe us in our legislative process. Welcome.
Alderwoman from the 7th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I'm going to have the same honored guest as the Alderman from the 9th, but I'm going to especially give a shout out to Harper Richardson, who is in the gallery with us and who is the daughter of Neil Richardson. I just wanted to tell her that it's great to see her. I'm glad to see her today and welcome all of the students who are with us today. Thank you.
Alderwoman from the 10th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I would also like to welcome the class from City Academy, New City, School from your neighbors to the north. Good morning, welcome. It's so good to see you out here. I hope you all have asked all the amazing questions and had a good time so far, and hopefully maybe be able to come down here as well. And then I would also like to recognize my constituent. I'm so proud to be her Alder lady. I got her first this time because usually somebody steals her from me. But Dr. Joyce Roberts, and honor her for not only her decades of service to St. Louis Public School and to the West End neighborhood and the community, but also now your new role on our Circuit Attorney Gabe Gore's Citizen Academy. Thank you.
Any further introduction of honored guests? Any further introduction of honored guests? Seeing none, Alderwoman from the 10th, you're recognized on the approval of the minutes from Friday, October 3rd, 2025.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we approve the minutes from Friday, October 3rd, 2025.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 7th, that we approve the minutes from Friday, October 3rd, 2025. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Report of city officials.
Report of city officials can be found in A, B, C, and D of the agenda, and a copy has been placed in the Google Drive for your review. Dear members of the board, I have the pleasure to submit the following individuals for appointment to the Cousins Martin Luther King Grand Community Improvement District. The appointment of Madeline Swanstrom, serving as a renter within the district, whose term will expire on September 1st, 2028, fulfilling the unexpired term of Jake Norb. I respectfully request your approval of these appointments. Sincerely, Kara Spencer. Mayor.
Alderman from the 14th, you are recognized on Mayor Spencer's appointments to the Cousins MLK Grand Community Improvement District.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move to approve Ms. Swanstrom to the Covenant MLK Grand Community Improvement District.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 14th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 10th, that we approve Mayor Spencer's appointments. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Does anyone wish to take any bills or resolutions off of any of our informal calendars? Alderman from the 4th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I would like to take Board Bill 43 off of the informal calendar and place it on the perfection calendar.
Madam Clerk, if you could please place Board Bill 43 on the regular perfection calendar.
Noted.
Alderman from the 14th, you are recognized on the motion to suspend the rules for the purposes of introducing Board Bill 82.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move to suspend the rules to introduce Board Bill 82.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 14th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 10th, that we suspend the rules for the purposes of introducing Board Bill 82. This is a non-debatable motion. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderman Oldenburg.
Aye.
Alderman Cone. Alderman Narayan.
Aye.
Alderman Devoti.
Aye.
Alderwoman Velasquez. Alderwoman Sanier. Alderwoman Cox Antwi. Alderman Browning. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys.
Aye.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Aldrich.
Aye.
President Green.
Aye.
Alderman Cone. Alderwoman Tyus. We have 13 aye votes.
By your vote, you sustain the motion from the Alderman from the 14th. If you could please place Board Bill 82 at the end of the first reading of board bills.
Noted.
First reading of board bills.
Board Bill number 79, introduced by Alderman Devoti, pursuant to ordinance number 70333, as amended by ordinance number 71394, an ordinance directing the Director of Streets to install speed humps to calm the flow of traffic on various blocks in the 5th Ward. Board Bill number 80, introduced by Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, an ordinance to repeal ordinance number 69056 concerning the city's participation in the Property Assessment Clean Energy Act, and enacting a new ordinance regarding the same to enable the city to join the Missouri Clean Energy District in order to provide an additional authorized entity through which owners of property within a city may obtain financing for energy efficiency or renewable energy improvements to their property pursuant Missouri's Property Assessment Clean Energy Act, and stating the steps to be taken by the city in connections therewith, the activities such district may conduct in the city as member of such district. Board Bill number 81, introduced by Alderwoman Keys, an ordinance directing the Director of Streets to install speed humps pursuant of ordinance number 70333, as amended by ordinance number 71394, to calm the flow of traffic on the 3600 and 3700 blocks of Grandale Square and the 3600, 3700, and 3800 blocks of Washington Avenue. Board Bill number 82, introduced by Alderman Aldrich, an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor and comptroller of the city of St. Louis to execute upon receipt of and in consideration of the sum of $275,000 and other good and valuable for consideration, a quit claim deed to release and forever quit claim unto 900 North Tucker 5 Building, LLC, a Missouri limited liability company, its assessors and assigns certain city 6-owned property located in the city block of 534, which property is commonly known as 1134 and 1138, 7 Dr. Martin Luther King Drive in the city of St. Louis, Missouri. That is the extent of the first reading of board bills.
Please assign Board Bill 82 to the HUD's committee.
Noted.
Reference to Committee of Board Bills.
Reference to Committee of Board Bills to Public Infrastructure and Utility Board Bill number 79 and 81, and to HUD's Board Bill number 80 and 82. That is the extent of reference to Committee of Board Bills.
Second reading report of standing committees.
The following board bills passed out of committee with a due pass recommendation. Out of the HUD's committee, Board Bills number 68, introduced by Alderman Browning and Alderwoman Keys, an ordinance renewing the previous blight determinations made by ordinance number 66847 and ordinance number 66985, and as renewed by ordinance number 68754 and ordinance number 70119 and ordinance number 71214 for the Cortex West redevelopment area such that Cortex West Redevelopment Corporation can continue to exercise its right to use eminent domain granted by the city to complete the redevelopment plan. That is the extent of second reading and report of standing committees.
Report of special committees.
We have none.
We can dispense with line item 15, board bills for perfection consent.
Board Bill number 64, introduced by Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, President Green, an ordinance to repeal certain sections of Chapter 22.28 within the revised code of the City of St. Louis relating to the Zoological Board of Control and remove them from the City Code. Board Bill number 65, introduced by Alderwoman Velasquez and President Green, an ordinance to repeal various obsolete boards and commissions established under city ordinances and to remove them from City Code. Board Bill number 71, introduced by Alderman Oldenburg, pursuant to ordinance number 70333, as amended by ordinance number 71394, an ordinance directing the Director of Streets to install speed humps to calm the flow of traffic on various blocks in the Second Ward. Board Bill number 72, introduced by Alderman Oldenburg, Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, Alderman Devotie, and Alderman Browning, an ordinance authorizing the honorary street name Brian McKenna Way pursuant to ordinance number 68937, which shall begin at the intersection of Childress and Nottingham Street and run east on Nottingham Street to the intersection of Tam Avenue and Nottingham Street. Board Bill number 74, introduced by Alderman Ryan, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment authorizing the City Emergency Management Agency to accept hazard mitigation grant program funding in an amount of $697,678.87 from the State of Missouri Emergency Management Agency, SEMA, appropriating said funds and a required city match for such funds, authorizing the expenditure of such funds to the extent received, and authorizing contracts and other documents to expend such funds to the extent received and containing an emergency clause. That is the extent of board bills for perfection consent.
Alderwoman from the 10th, you're recognized on the motion to adopt the board bills for the perfection consent calendar.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we adopt the board bills for perfection consent calendar.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 7th, that we adopt the board bills for the perfection consent calendar. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Board bills for perfection.
Board Bill number 73, introduced by Alderman Aldrich, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Public Service to conditionally vacate above surface, and subsurface rights for vehicle, equestrian, and pedestrian travel in the 13th Street from Cole Street to Dr. Martin Luther King Drive. The 12-foot wide north-south alley in City Block 270 as bounded by Carr Street, Tucker Boulevard, Cole Street, and 13th Street vacated, and the 20-foot wide east-west alley in City Block 547 as bounded by Cole Street, 13th Street, North Martin Luther King Drive, and 14th Street in the City of St. Louis, Missouri, as hereafter described in accordance with Charter authority and in conformity with Section 14 of Article 21 of the Charter, and imposing certain conditions on such vacation.
Alderman from the 14th, you're recognized on the perfection of Board Bill 73.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move to perfect Board Bill 73.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 14th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 7th, that we perfect Board Bill 73. Alderman, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move to adopt amendment number 1 to Board Bill 73.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 14th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 1st, that we adopt amendment number 1 to Board Bill number 73. Alderman, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. This is a simple street vacation bill that will be vacating right between Cole and Dr. King on 13th Street. In the process of the bill getting formulated between the Streets Department and coming to the Board of Aldermen, there was a small error. So the amendment would strike out the line actually just in the summary. It does not, this language is not in the meat of the bill, but just to be on the safe side, I know the Alderwoman from the first one to make sure that this wasn't included, but on page 1 of the summary, it would strike out vacate area will be used to consolidate property for construction of an athletic field or future stadium, which I know a lot of people got excited about that. Maybe a base or basketball stadium, Madam President. I know you've been advocating for one for a while. I'm with you, but that's not what this would be doing. So we just want to strike that language out to ensure that it's not for a future stadium at the moment. And I would open up for any questions.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, it's been moved by the Alderman from the 14th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 1st, that we adopt Amendment 1 to Board Bill 73. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Alderman, you are now recognized on Board Bill 73 as amended.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move to perfect Board Bill 73 as amended.
Is there a second?
Second.
Wake up, guys.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 14th, seconded by the Alderman from the 9th, that we perfect Board Bill 73 as amended. Alderman, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Now that Board Bill 73 as amended it takes out that language again, this is just a simple street vacation to close off the street for starting off with parking, but also maybe potential future development down there in the area. And I would open up for any questions.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, it's been moved by the Alderman from the 14th, seconded by the Alderman from the 9th, that we perfect Board Bill 73 as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Board Bill number 43, introduced by Alderman Narayan, an ordinance establishing a policy to govern the purchase and demolition of 7 flood-prone properties in the Ellendale neighborhood in accordance with the requirements of the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, HMGP, funding awarded by the State of Missouri Emergency Management Agency, SEMA, and containing a severability clause.
Alderman from the 4th, you are recognized on the perfection of Board Bill 43.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we perfect Board Bill 43.
Second.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 4th, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th, that we perfect Board Bill 43. Alderman, you may proceed.
This is a companion bill with Board Bill 74. I put this on the informal calendar a few months back because we were waiting on the funding piece on this. Board Bill 74, which we just perfected on the consent calendar, is that. So now we can move forward with this and help those folks in the flood-affected area. And with that, I ask for your favorable consideration.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, it's been moved by the Alderman from the 4th, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th, that we perfect Board Bill 43. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Report of engrossment.
Board Bill number 52, 61, number 69, and number 70, floor substitute.
Third reading and final passage of Board Bill's consent.
Board Bill number 52, introduced by Alderwoman Boyd. Board Bill number 61, Board Bill number 69, and Board Bill number 70, floor substitute. That is the extent of third reading and final passage of Board Bill's consent.
Alderwoman from the 10th, you're recognized on the motion to adopt the third reading and final passage of Board Bills on the consent calendar.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we adopt the third reading, final passage of Board Bills on the consent calendar.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 8th, that we adopt the third reading, final passage of Board Bills on the consent calendar. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Schweitzer. Alderman Oldenburg.
Aye.
Alderman Cone.
Aye.
Alderman Narayan.
Aye.
Alderman Devoti.
Aye.
Alderwoman Velasquez. Alderwoman Sanier. Alderwoman Cox Antwi. Alderman Browning. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys.
Aye.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Aldrich. President Green.
Aye.
Alderwoman Tyus. 14 aye votes.
Third reading and final passage of board bills.
We have none.
Reported the finally passed and signed by the President.
Board Bill number 52, Board Bill number 61, Board Bill number 69, Board Bill number 70, floor substitute.
All other business being suspended, the President shall in open session affix her signature hereto to the end that these may become law.
No, only got.
First reading of resolutions in reference to committee.
We have none.
Second reading of resolutions, committee reports and adoption.
Resolution number 118, introduced by Alderman Aldrich and President Green and Alderwoman Keys. Voluntarily recognizing the bargaining unit for the legislative staff members at the St. Louis Board of Aldermen.
Alderman from the 14th, you are recognized on the second reading of resolution 118.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the board, I move to adopt Resolution 118.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 14th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 8th, that we adopt resolution 118. Alderman, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the board, I move to adopt the floor substitute to Board Bill 118. Resolution 118.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 14th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 7th, that we adopt the floor substitute for resolution 118. Alderman, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I will talk about the cleanup of the floor substitute, and then hopefully once adopted, I will ask the clerk to read the floor substitute once the board adopted. But there are some changes that from the Personnel Administration Committee that we had yesterday on our staff being able to unionize that. I would say with some of the conversations from Alderman Cone, we just want to do some cleanup. So one of the things that we're cleaning up, instead of just saying in the whereas United Auto Workers, we're saying UAW, just to make it a little cleaner. And we're also adding in the second whereas also legal staff. So that was left out. Ms. Mary, who is under Lou, would also now be eligible to join into the union. The rest of it is, again, cleanup and the whereas in the fifth stance, where instead of saying United Auto Workers, we just say UAW. And we also strike out and therefore be resolved organizing committee to just leave the legislative staff. I'll go deeper into, I think, why this is important, but I'll wait to we adopt the floor sub and then ask the clerk to read the actual resolution. With that, I'll open up to any questions.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, we are on the floor substitute adoption. So all those in favor of floor substitute, sorry, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Alderman, you may now proceed on Resolution 118, floor substitute.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Madam Clerk, would you read Resolution 118, floor substitute?
Resolution number 118, floor substitute, voluntarily recognizing the bargaining unit for the legislative staff members at the St. Louis Board of Aldermen. Whereas during the 2023-2024 legislative session, the Board of Aldermen approved its inaugural cohort of legislative assistants who have provided additional support to each individual alderman by researching and drafting legislation, preparing policy briefs and legislative memorandum, handling constituent service requests, and so much more. And whereas the legislative staff, which includes the non-managerial staff members of the President of the Board of Aldermen and the legal staff, are an essential workforce for the St. Louis Board of Aldermen, and they are critical to both the day-to-day operations as well as the overall direction at the Board of Aldermen. And whereas the legislative staff came together to address their workplace needs, and after careful consideration and collective deliberation, choice to organize with United Auto Workers, UAW, as their union representative to secure access to additional personnel and infrastructural support. And whereas this legislative body has previously declared its ongoing duty to support, protect, and defend city residents fighting against coercion and interference in their right to organize, including most recently Resolution 223/2025 supporting the Water World employees at Lambert International Airport, organizing with SEIU Local 1 Resolution 14/2023 supporting the staff at Places for People, organizing with SEIU Healthcare Resolution number 95/2023, supporting the nurses at St. Louis University Hospital, organizing with National Nurses United Resolution 157/2023, supporting the Aramark janitors at Anheuser-Busch InBev, who are organizing with United Here Local 74, among many others. And whereas it is under this long-standing and steadfast support of unions that the Board of Aldermen adopts this resolution that voluntarily recognizing UAW, the bargaining representative for the legislative staff at the Board of Aldermen. And whereas the Board of Aldermen has the authority to voluntarily recognize UAW as the bargaining representative due to Rule Number 1, Section 1, Subsection Z, Clause 5 of the Civil Service Commission. And whereas many members of the St. Louis Board of Aldermen have stood alongside members of UAW, whether at the General Motors factory in Wentzville or most recently in Midtown, with the graduate workers of St. Louis University. And whereas in support of this voluntarily recognition, the St. Louis Legislative Staff Organizing Committee has collected signatures from 75% of the bargaining unit through signed authorization cards. And whereas upon approval of this legislative body, the St. Louis City Legislative Staff, led by the Legislative Staff Organizing Committee, LSOC, will become one of the first municipal legislative staffs in the United States and the first in Missouri to organize and initiate the collective bargaining process, ensuring infrastructure and fair work conditions for future automatic staff members. Now, therefore, be resolved by the Board of Aldermen of the City of St. Louis that the St. Louis Board of Aldermen voluntarily recognizes the United Auto Workers as the bargaining representative for the legislative staff at the St. Louis Board of Aldermen. Now, therefore, be further resolved that the St. Louis Board of Aldermen commits to negotiating in good faith to swiftly reach an agreement with UAW and legislative staff organizing committee that recognizes the essential work of the Board of Aldermen's legislative staff, introduced this 10th day of October 2025 by the Honorable Rasheen Aldrich, Alderman of the 14th Ward, co-sponsors Honorable Megan Green, President of the Board, and the Honorable Laura Keys, Alderwoman of the 11th Ward, adopted this 10th day of October 2025.
Alderman from the 14th, you are recognized on Resolution 118 floor substitute.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I'm really excited about this resolution because I would say what's great about this resolution was it is worker driven. Before becoming a alderman or a state rep or a committee man, I was part of an organization called Fight for 15, fast food workers that was going out on strike to advocate for not only a livable wage, but the right to unionize, because we know when workers are in unions, they have the ability to collectively bargain. They have protections and somebody to be able to represent them on the job site. We know that more workplaces that are union not only make the workplace quality better, but it also make workers a little bit more happy when they know that they have somebody who has their back. This Board of Aldermen has a long history of supporting labor. As the resolution has read, I remember probably when I first got elected going out on the picket line for UAW with the alderwoman from the 1st, the president, the alderwoman from the 7th, maybe the alderman from the 9th, and standing with labor. There's been various other times where this body has not only stood with labor in a physical way, but through different resolutions or passed bills to make sure that we let folks know that we support workers. There's a saying my mom always used to say is, not just talk the talk, but also walk the walk. And I think this resolution, by voluntarily recognizing the workers, and I want to be again, the workers who came together for about over a year now that have been working with their colleagues from legislative assistants, from the legal staff, and also in the president's office to say, hey, we want to make sure that we have a union. And they got over 75% of the cards signed so that they can unionize. There's two ways that this could happen. Ultimately, workers can take the cards that they got and call for an election, or they can go to their employer and try to do a voluntary recognition of becoming a union. And this is a step that they decided to do. I want to thank all our staff here at the Board of Aldermen who have been organizing over the last several years, again, from our legislative staff to our legal staff, and also in the president's office for stepping up and saying, we love our job, we appreciate our job, but we also want to be part of a collective bargaining unit to make sure that we can have protections when it comes to our job and be able to advocate down here at the Board of Aldermen. This will be the first time that this has happened at the Board of Aldermen. This board has done a lot of transformational things, if it's been going from 28 to 14, or passing legislation to put more people first instead of developers. And I think this is another way that we are putting worker first over jobs. So I think this is not just transformational, but a historic moment for the Board of Aldermen as we move one step further and closer to allowing our staff here to be able to unionize with UAW. And also want to thank Ms. Laura from UAW who is there, who represents thousands and thousands and thousands of workers in the Missouri region, and for all her expertise, testimony, and with working with our staff to get this done. Even though she's not here, I also want to give a shout out to Chelsea Murda as well, who was one of the card signers, but she recently left us, but was a part of the leadership group with her, Mr. Heskamp, and Ms. Mary Shannon. But all of the workers, to be honest, even if they wasn't part of the leadership organization crew, deserve a thank you from myself for just the hard work that you guys did, and also getting cards signed, understanding the fear of retaliation, because like I said, City Hall, these walls talk, and even probably knowing that other people knew about the efforts that you guys did, you didn't stop. So you have my support, and I'm glad that you guys asked me to be able to carry this resolution, and I continue to stand behind the workers here at the Board of Aldermen to make sure we have a better quality workplace, higher wages, and better conditions for our staff. And with that, I will open up for any questions, Madam President.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, Alderman, you are recognized to close.
I think I said everything I need to say. Again, just want to thank the workers for leading the charge on this, and know that many of us here at the Board of Aldermen, as this process moves forward, we still have your back, and we'll continue to have your back, and just want to thank you all for your leadership. With that, Madam President, I would ask for a roll call vote on Resolution 118.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 14th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 7th, that we adopt resolution number 118, floor substitute. There's been a request for roll call. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderman Oldenburg.
Abstain.
Alderman Cone. Alderman Narayan. Alderman Devoti.
Pass.
Alderwoman Velasquez. Alderwoman Sanier. Alderwoman Cox Antwi. Alderman Browning. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys.
Aye.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Boyd.
Abstain.
Alderman Aldrich. President Green.
Aye.
Alderman Devoti.
Abstain.
Alderwoman Tyus. We have 11 aye votes, 3 abstain.
By your vote, you sustain the motion from the Alderman from the 14th to adopt Resolution 118 floor substitute. Congratulations to the staff at the board. Alderwoman from the 10th, you are recognized on the motion to adopt the courtesy resolution consent calendar.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we adopt the courtesy resolution consent calendar.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 7th, that we adopt the courtesy resolution consent calendar. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Miscellaneous and unfinished business.
We have none.
You can dispense with line item 25, announcements.
Monday, October 13, 2025, we have none. Tuesday, October the 14th, 2025, Housing, Urban Development, and Zoning in the Kennedy Room at 11 a.m. Wednesday, October the 15th, 2025, Public Infrastructure and Utilities in the Kennedy Room at 3:30 p.m. Thursday, October the 16th, 2025, Health and Human Development webinar at 9 a.m. Public Safety in the Kennedy Room at 2 p.m. Friday, October the 17th, 2025, full board meeting in the chambers at 10 a.m.
Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Alderwoman from the 8th.
Okay, it's working this time. Thank you, Madam President. I would just like to announce first that Oktoberfest is kicking off in Solar this evening starting at 6 p.m. It's a great family-friendly event to hopefully welcome us into fall. So just wanted to announce that. And I also wanted to announce and wish a happy birthday to the Alderwoman of the 7th Ward this weekend. So happy birthday, Alderwoman, and congratulations to you.
Any further announcements? Alderwoman from the 7th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I would like to announce the Alderwoman from the 8th's birthday. That is the day before mine, actually. And also to wish a happy birthday to Joelle, her daughter, who's the day after mine. Libras make the world a better place. Thank you.
Any further announcements? Alderwoman from the 10th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I would like to announce Lewis Place Historical Preservation Incorporated will be celebrating 25 years of service to the Fountain Park and Lewis Place community on Saturday from 11 to 3, of course, where else other than at Fountain Park. You can bring a lawn chair. There'll be free activities. It's a family event with free not only food, but also concerts and entertainment. And it's just an amazing time to be able to bring this celebratory spirit to that neighborhood that was so devastated by the tornado months ago now. So congratulations. It's been an honor to serve you all in the Fountain Park Lewis Place neighborhood. For the last 2 years, I look forward to serving you in years to come.
Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Seeing none, Alderwoman from the 10th, you're recognized on the motion to excuse.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we excuse the alderperson from the 12th for necessary absence.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 8th, that we excuse the Alderwoman from the 12th for necessary absence. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Motion carries. Alderwoman from the 10th, you are recognized on the motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we adjourn until Friday, October 17th, 2025, in the Board of Aldermen, 10 a.m.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we adjourn until Friday, October 17th, 2025, in the Board of Aldermen chambers at 10 a.m. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.